is the annual report. The council receives the report and considers questions and submissions from the general public. So if there are persons who wish to comment or ask questions about the annual report, it's very inclusive. I think it covers everything that we've basically accomplished, a lot of the projects that were done, including some major ones that we finished up in the year 2013. So I'm certainly proud of all of what council was able to achieve in the past 2013. It's been a year of action for sure. And calling for any comments? Ms. Thompson.
Just a question on the Sophie, the remuneration and expenses paid. Why is there a variance on council stipends remuneration?
Variance on that? Can you answer that question?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Taxable benefits, life insurance.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything further? And calling for the last time, anything further from the general public? Hearing none, council receives the report. Can I have a motion to receive? Councillor Doherty, Councillor Smith, all those in favor. And moving down to the adoption of the agenda, we have some additions from this morning's Committee of the Whole. We have three statements that have been created to deal with the financial information, the SOFI, the Deer Committee request for referendum, and the Deer Committee request for tracking and monitoring equipment. So those three motions will be added to the appropriate late items site. A motion to accept the amended. Councillor Kendall, Councillor Smith, all those in favor. We have a set of minutes from June the 9th, the regular meeting minutes. A motion to adopt. Councillor O'Doherty, second, and Councillor Smith. All those in favor. Unfinished business and council reports. Do we have a volunteer?
We got a donation.
Where did we miss? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, so this one, Your Worship.
Getting excited.
This one's on Valley Women.
Okay, the building of a sidewalk in front of Silver Kettle Village to Extra Foods. We have a presentation from the Sunshine Valley Women's Institute regarding the sidewalk in front of Silver Kettle to Extra Foods. And are there representatives from the Sunshine Valley Women's Institute here?
Yep. Okay.
Wow, all of you. Okay, well, do you have a spokesperson? That's
Sure, yes.
Step forward and introduce yourself, please.
Thanks. Mr. Mayor, City Council members, guests, my name is Linda Dixon, and I'm a member of the Sunshine Valley Women's Institute. We're here today as advocates for the residents of the Silver Kettle Village. This is not benefiting the Sunshine Valley Women's Institute. We're here on behalf of the Silver Kettle. It is deemed necessary, in fact urgent, that a sidewalk be built in front of the Silver Kettle Village that would run along 72nd Avenue westward toward Extra Foods. Many of the residents are mobile and walk along the street to purchase their groceries or just to walk, and it is unsafe for pedestrians using walkers, wheelchairs, scooters, and so on to venture out on this busy stretch of road without the benefit of a sidewalk. The residents signed a petition in 2013 requesting that a sidewalk be built, and it was submitted to council. Letters have been sent to City Council in 2013, one in January and the other one in October. The answer we got back was it wasn't in this year's budget. We again request on their behalf that this matter be acted on to ensure the safety of our very valuable senior residents of our community. Thank you.
And I would see too that the Benevolent Society is in the same situation there in terms of accessing the Extra Foods and the Gables. So all three of those institutions would benefit greatly from the sidewalk.
Yeah. Your worship, I'll put a motion, but send it to the staff and come up with that'd be okay?
That's the power you have. You can receive the presentation and recommend that this be considered
Yes.
by our staff, and
Yeah.
that would create a report back to us in terms of the cost of
That'd
it.
be okay?
We do appreciate that there are other groups within that stretch of road, but we've only been asked to speak on behalf of.
No, that's-
groups.
No, I
Yes,
recognize that.
Absolutely,
I
yeah,
think it's a very solid argument in terms of a
Yeah.
corridor of people walking there.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
of course.
And that stop sign might be
Yeah, we
something
have the
we
people
consider
who-
there as well. Councilor Doherty?
But we have the people from Farside Villa next to that place, so.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Linda? Okay, on the floor is Councilor Doherty's motion, seconded by Councilor Smith. So what we're asking is that we ask staff to look into this matter and give us some costs on it. I'm
Yeah.
not guaranteeing we can put
No,
it in
but,
the budget,
we'll-
but let's get some facts and figures
Yeah.
on it.
That'd be great.
That's the motion on the floor.
Yes.
Any comments, discussion? No? All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you very much, ladies. Okay, so that does bring us down to council reports. And we have Councilor Doherty.
Your worship, I attend the CFM conference in Niagara Falls. It was a great conference, and I learned a lot about it, and I attended a lot of meetings. I didn't have a chance to, I just came back a week ago, and I didn't have a chance to put everything together, because I'm involved with the GFI,
Yeah,
the baseball, and the 50-50. But as soon as the baseball is all done, I'll be able to bring about the conference all when I come there.
all right.
Okay.
The baseball is starting.
The
next
baseball is
Wednesday.
starting on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And it's going to be on until Sunday. And we hope there's a big crowd there.
Well, we have the Samboree in town. and
Yes.
We're laughing with that, so I'm hoping that they'll take advantage of that entertainment.
Yeah, and I'll do all the best to be there too.
All right.
7:30 on Thursday night, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
and who would like to be next?
Oh, because I'm sure.
Councilor Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually have no report on this, this week. Last week I was quite ill, and I attended grad, but otherwise I have no report this time.
Okay. Councilor Kendall, you're anticipatory.
Thank you, Your Worship. Although I missed the monthly meeting of the Boundary Museum and Interpretive Center, I would like to report on a few things that I heard verbally about from the meeting. The new display building is very near completion, and the new forestry display is going to be set up soon, so that's going to be something new for the museum. The solar electrical system has been installed and will be functional soon, so again, another something new for our community. There'll be an actual working solar system for people to have a look at. New museum manager has been hired, and everyone's looking forward to a busy summer season there. Bread making, blacksmithing, and other hands-on activities are planned for the summer. So it looks like it's going to be busy up there, which is exciting. The Duke of Border Flour Mill Welcome Center, the opening's been delayed because of lack of volunteers. So if anyone in the community is willing to volunteer a couple of hours a week there as an ambassador, would be greatly appreciated. They are expected to open this weekend to take advantage of the Samboree and the GFI, but it would be great to have some more community participation to help them out there.
It's all volunteer run.
It's all volunteer run, and it's a really positive stopping point for tourists coming through the valley to get a little bit of a feeling for what Grand Forks is, so I encourage that. On June 11th, I attended the monthly meeting of the Boundary Regional Chamber of Commerce. Jim Nathorst from the Greenwood Board of Trade, which is now cooperatively working with the Boundary Regional Chamber, has joined the board. And having met him, I believe he's going to be a positive influence on regional cooperation on a business level, so it's really encouraging. The Chamber's been extremely busy with numerous initiatives in Grand Forks and area, and I'd like to give praise to James Wilson, the Executive Director there, for his tireless work on many fronts to promote the Chamber as a unifying entity for the entire Boundary. Shannon Profili, who sits on the Chamber Board as well, taken the lead in promoting the Ambassador Program through the Chamber, and she's been certified to teach the World Host Program to all new members or volunteers who would like to become ambassadors for the city. And I would encourage, again, any community members who would like to become an ambassador, which is strictly a volunteer position. It's just a matter of they would let you know what activities are going on in the city, and if you choose to be a part of it as an ambassador for the city, you can choose to do that and volunteer as much or as little of your time as you'd like. So I'd encourage community members to look into that or get in contact with the Chamber and become one of the helping hands for the community. She's already trained, I believe, the city summer student staff in the World Host Program. And I think this is it's going to be a positive benefit for those people dealing with tourists and local people throughout the summer. So I think that's a great thing for the city to fairly lengthy report here. June 13th, I attended the ribbon cutting ceremonies along with yourself and several members of the council at the new kiosk at Observation Mountain, the new bat house installations, and the riparian information sign at City Park. I think, again, three
ribbons in one day.
3 ribbons in one day. So, lots of good things happening. June 18th, I attended the Investor Open House again with several members of council and myself. At Gallery 2, there were presentations by the Provincial Nominee Program, and that program is about foreign investment, the ability of getting foreign workers in town. There was representatives there from the provincial government, the federal government, and the federal representatives explained to us the possibilities of bringing students for work programs, and they have associations with 32 countries around the world. If we're looking for people to work, students, visas can be processed in as little as 10 days from a number of countries, and I think that working people here in short order, so it's just interesting to learn about all of these possibilities, federally and provincially. And the event was well attended by a lot of different members of the community, and I think that was a kudos to the staff for putting that all together, and also Wendy,
Gallery 2, yeah.
Gallery 2 and Community Futures. June 20th, again, I along with several other councillors attended the open house to afford the community to see the City Hall in its, at the present point, its nakedness, and to get a look at the plans for the reconstruction there that are going to be starting shortly. June 9th to 11th, just to go back a little bit, Councillor Smith and I attended the BC Economic Development Association Conference in Richmond. And we're going to kind of do a joint report on this and just on some of the highlights, and I'm going to let Councillor Smith start, and we'll kind of trade off here to let everybody know what we did there.
So one of the presenters was a fellow by name of Paige Webster. He's with Webster Global Site Selectors Consulting, and essentially he's a site selector for large companies and industries looking for a place to set up their headquarters or production facilities, whatnot. And he basically gave us an overview from his point of view, of what what his clients are looking for, and basically a heads up on what some of the things that we need to do in order to be, attractive to those markets. Things like, what existing sites are there within a municipality and what their size is. What kind of infrastructure is already in place? What are the transportation infrastructure that you have available? What's the crime rate? Lease rates, lifestyle is a big one. And a big point he made was that when you're trying to, when these site selectors are looking over different communities, you have to be no more than 3 clicks away from the information that you need. And kudos to staff and all those who have worked on our site, is that 2 clicks and you're there. We actually took the staff put together the business profile for Grand Forks, and Councillor Kennel and myself took several copies and made sure that we made contact with the people, not just to pass it out gratuitously, but to seek the people like this fella here and say, this is us, what do you think? Can you give us any pointers? And he looked at it and he says, awesome. Our business profile, 5 pages. There are communities out there that are giving a binder, like 60 pages and whatnot, and that just goes into the G file. The guy weighs it and says, heavy reading, see you later. So I think we're doing all the right things, and certainly by the feedback that we got from many of the folks that we mutually kind of hooked up with, we're doing the right things, and we're getting on the map. I should point out that the Sunday night there was a sort of a meet and greet, and Councillor Kennel and I, we didn't have an opportunity to get, T-shirts and pens and all that kind of stuff, but we did have the city pins. So as we just went out there and we started pinning people.
Good thing you're not shy.
Exactly. When we showed up, the president and the CEO, those 2 guys, they looked at us and they said, whoa, the Grand Forks guys are here, party on, let's get her done, right? So it was good. It was really good. And I showed Councillor Wershagan the ream of photographs that people, we pinned them and they went like this. So I'm going to put a little collage together and maybe have it up for the next seal Cal meeting. So just to show people that people know Grand Forks is here, and these are all the EDOs from across the province. So they like us.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Going on to another main point, a fellow named Rob Zur did a presentation on, and these are all economic development initiatives, and why we go to these conferences is to bring back these kinds of things for staff and for the community to tell you what we're doing on your behalf to promote the city. And his comments were that, if you're going to do a presentation on your community, tell a great story. A great story about the community. Facts and statistics aren't something that a lot of us remember, but get noticed by telling edgy, true, heartfelt stories. Make the audience care about your community and get those on your website. So these are some of the initiatives through economic development that we're going to strive to get done. And this just goes hand in hand with all of the other efforts we've made over the last 3 years on economic development.
Another highlight was a fellow by the name of Stan Phillips, who said, what is your purple goldfish? And he's written a book to the effect.
Purple goldfish.
Yeah. What is your purple goldfish? So it's something that stands out. It's something that identifies you as unique, and just a standout element to your community. And he provided a number of examples of how that works. You go into a coffee shop and you purchase a certain amount, they give you a free muffin or something like that. Just the little things that people remember you for, and that's what we need to do as a community to basically say what distinguishes Grand Forks from all the other rural communities in BC, and that's what we need to find is our purple goldfish. So some of the things he mentioned that affect the community's growth are the size of the market, what kind of competition you have, the business environment, startup costs, culture, and talent. And what he said is, how are we different in a sea of sameness? And that's, again, going back to the purple goldfish. You can provide all those things, but you have to provide that little extra in order to attract the people that you want to come to your community.
We're wrapping this up. Finally, there speaker by the name of Ryan Walters, and I think this is just good for everyone to bear in mind, but they did a worldwide survey of what the 4 universal leadership characteristics recognized by most people are. And it was interesting. He put up about 20 characteristics and had us all choose the 4 that we thought were the things that people appreciated and valued the most. The number 1 was honesty. Number 2 was forward-looking. Number 3 was inspiring, and number 4 was competency.
It's the least.
No, those were the top 4.
Top
Yeah.
4.
Oh, there's like 20 things.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's the top 4.
So I think these are traits that all of us who are considering running again or putting our name in for council should bear in mind and strive for, at least in my opinion. And to close it out, Robert Ironside made a statement that I believe all of us need to ponder a bit, and it was that people only accept change when they're faced with necessity. And we only recognize necessity when a crisis is upon us. So change is not an easy thing, but I think we just have to embrace it and kind of be leaders in that rather than waiting for a crisis to precipitate the necessity and then make the change. And together we can do anything we believe we can. Mm-hmm. And that ends my report.
And one important thing too is that when we first got on council, the Economic Development Advisory Committee was formed, and the areas we identified as needing work on, I think a lot of the strategies that we put in place and a lot of the steps that we took towards accomplishing those strategies and those goals have been accomplished. And I think now, Grand Forks is basically on the verge of some very interesting changes in a positive way, and we're happy to certainly be a part of that. So I guess it's my report now.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Your Worship. May 27th. I am one of the steering committee members for the Phoenix Foundation's Vital Signs project that's being undertaken right now. So again, we're trying to gather more information, more data, in order to flesh out the report that will be coming in the fall. A lot of work has been going into this, and Carly Olson, of course, has been heading this up through the Phoenix Foundation. She's been doing a wonderful job. So we're going to be meeting again tomorrow for a longer session to sort of gather all that information together and see what we need to get still in order to provide that report card. Again, it's a report card basically on how the boundary area is doing in terms of arts and culture, getting around, housing, work, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be very comprehensive, and our chair, of course, is leading the way on that as well. So kudos to her as well. On June 13th, I attended, as you know, the 3 ribbon cuttings, and then I had the honor in the evening of presenting scholarships to the the 2014 graduates. It was a great event. I was surprised how many folks were graduating that year. $54,000 in scholarships and bursaries that were handed out that night. And there was one gentleman, the son of
Maxwell Nicholson.
yes, Maxwell Nicholson, $26,000.
That's good.
I wrote his reference letter.
Good for you. Well, yeah, something worked because that was awesome. But all of those got. I mean, obviously they work hard for this stuff, so it was really great to see and be a part of that. I also had the honor of presenting on some of the bursaries and scholarships on behalf of the Phoenix Foundation, who hold several scholarship funds in trust for others. So that was great. I just kept running back and forth to the church and picking this stuff up. We also had a Phoenix Foundation meeting that night, or no, this is June 18th now. City Open House, PNP. That was, as you pointed out, that was a really good thing to attend to find out what's going on, and it was an extension of what we had done at the conference in Richmond, because we actually got to speak with people who were delivering the program face to face prior to them coming to our community. So that was awesome. Later that night, there was a Phoenix Foundation meeting, and we are, it's all about vital signs right now, so we're all pretty focused on that. June 20th was at the City Hall Open House, and it's quite a different thing to look at that thing stripped down that night, right? So that was kind of cool. I just have one question for Councillor Kendall with respect to the Ambassador Program. The EDAC had assigned some money to that to pay for half of, I think it was 10 people to go to that thing. I don't know if that's still available or what might have happened.
I think that was in.
Because there was no attendance. People had signed up and nobody attended. So I wonder what happened, if there's still money available for folks who may want to go, that we might be able to support them.
Something you'll have to get back to.
That was last year's budget. If it wasn't used, it would have been identified in the surplus.
Oh, okay.
So then that would have been into the operating surplus.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it wouldn't have been, if it wasn't requested, then it wouldn't have been reallocated this
Wouldn't
year.
have just rolled over
Exactly.
to another allocation, so
Okay.
it would have to be reassigned.
Okay, that's my report, thank you.
Okay, you covered pretty much everything as usual. The showcase, I looked at a few comments on that. We really had a good reception from that, but we can't underestimate the fact that we touched a lot of people that don't normally come out to those kinds of things. And, I heard some really inspiring thoughts about Grand Forks' future in terms of what we can potentially do in this town, by people with money and vision. So again, congratulations to our staff for that effort. I asked myself, and I was asked this question, why didn't we do it before? Well, everything is timing. So good job. The other thing that I'm seeing happening is that we're not only evaluating property that we have, but we're also looking at making sure that our actions are not another time block to a developer coming in. So we're anticipating some of the things that would need to be done and getting ready for them. I think that's really the kind of message to contractors and to developers that will pay off, because we're hitting at so many different things at once. It's a multi-pronged approach in terms of marketing our city. So even a beautiful place like Grand Forks needs to be marketed, and we're doing it. That's my report. And can I have a motion to accept council reports? Councilor O'Doherty, Councilor Smith, all those in favor. Regional District report, they are going through their SOFI, that from the recreation center part, they're replacing the decking in the pool area. It's an expensive change, but they've got to deal with it in terms of liability and slipperiness of that material. The organizational changes are being formalized now for changing some of the top personnel at the regional district. I won't try and quote who's what anymore, but there are some big changes there that they're arguing will streamline some of their management functions and provide us with better overall service. And I know that the people that are moving into those positions are competent people that we have a lot of trust in. The district meeting is coming up shortly. There won't be one in Grand Forks for a while. The next one is in Trail with the Personnel Committee, which I chair. And one of the things that is on the agenda, which I think really needs some clarity, is the concept of phoning in. Phoning in can be so disruptive unless you've got a real reason for having to connect with the organization by telephone. It's been very difficult to manage at the regional table. We haven't really dealt with it much here. But again, that's on the Personnel and Policy Committee area. As well as that, there is a large part of it on anti-bullying within the culture of local governments. Councillor Smith.
I just wondered, like, if you guys thought about doing like e-meetings or something like that.
You know, we have all the technology, but it still doesn't seem to work because somebody's baby's crying in the background and then the phone goes dead and then we all got to wait for 20 minutes to reconnect. So there are some problems. And at the regional table, they have alternates, right? So the reason they have alternates, like I have Cher as my alternate, is that, you know, you use that unless you have a personal voting purpose, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I find it curious. At the FCM, there was one session I went to where there was literally a table like this with 3 individuals sitting there and a TV monitor right beside the one at the end. And he was positioned himself on the monitor and it's sitting at the same level, and he was able to communicate no differently than everybody else, spoke in turn, and everybody can see him, and he can see everybody else through his own little monitor, and it seemed to work seamlessly. So there's got to be a solution in there somewhere, you would think. If they're able to do that at the FCM at that level, just through a TV screen, just set beside the next person over, as if he was sitting right there with everybody else.
I saw that on Big Bang Theory. Didn't Sheldon do that?
Yes.
Councillor Campbell.
I'm just wondering if you can give us any information on, I believe the regional district was pressing for the outdoor exercise equipment to be installed there prior to, or very soon now.
All the footings are in.
Everything's there. So
I think that they're waiting to install the units and then to put the background, I think they're putting wood chip, or I'm not sure what they're putting in for gravel or wood chip.
Recycled tire chips?
Pardon, what?
Recycled tire chips.
Oh.
They have a Christina Lake.
Okay, excellent, thank you, Julie. So yeah, that's where that's at. It's all ready to go. It should be up and running, I think, as soon as the order comes in and they get it installed.
Mules.
Yeah.
That'd be a nice place for a mural.
Yeah.
Good. Anything further on the regional district? I'll ask for a motion to accept my report. Councillor Doherty, Councillor Smith, all those in favor. Okay, let's see where that puts us. All right, that brings us down to the appointment of the Chief Elections Officer and Deputy Chief Elections Officer, and that requires additional effort and responsibility and time, and we remunerate for it as per the recommendations on the right-hand column. Election Officer at $1,000, Deputy Chief Elections Officer at $750. Could we have that motion? Councillor Doherty, Councillor Kendall. Any discussion? It's a little less than the regional district. But let's not bring that up. Sorry.
The automated voting machine.
Yes, we'll save it. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item is the Grand Forks ATV Club approving the license of occupation and also giving consideration to a grant and aid contribution for the motocross staging area. Council approves the license of occupation. That's the motion we're looking for. Councilor Doherty. Councilor Kendall. I don't believe that we've defined what the grant and aid contribution might be, but I would imagine we need to explore what they need.
Mr. Mayor, the in-kind contribution was potentially us to move some materials for them with our loader, backhoe, or to be able to move some, bring in some materials for them that we would currently have in our stock.
Right.
So that was the point they were looking for from us. Also, they were looking to put up a kiosk. We would provide them potentially with some of the mapping stuff you see on the wall here for that. So those are the kind of in-kind pieces they were looking for.
Great, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Clear?
Yeah.
Any further questions? All those in favor? Carried. And bringing us down to information items.
We got another one there.
Did we?
The helmet thing. Healthy? The patio?
Oh, yes, yes.
Patio, yeah.
My glasses are,
Oh, no, it's okay.
they're only number 2s. I need number 3s.
That's what we're here for. Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ted.
Where are they? $4 down at the pharmacy there?
I don't want glasses.
Okay, this is a setback exemption.
Yeah,
It sounds rather draconian and moving to 0 foot in order to renovate
Yeah.
the back entrance, but we're looking at someone who's disabled in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
This morning's discussion is really,
Your worship.
yes,
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I could just, as you move towards the recommendation, just reminding it, the whole today you talked about registering a notice on title.
yeah,
Just because of the specific situation, so we wouldn't get everybody looking for that 0 setback.
that we're not setting any dangerous precedents. in
Exactly.
doing this,
Yeah.
but responding in a humanitarian way to a special needs. Councillor Washagan makes the
We'll make the
motion,
notice on
Councillor
title.
Smith seconds it. Any further discussion here? I think that was the big concern, that this is quite an extraordinary situation, but let's be humanitarian when we can. Ready for the vote? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, and that does bring us down to the Summary Land Works Mural Committee. We met with the mural committee this morning. We talked about the lift station. There was some discussion about a committee, which I believe we could strike at this point, being Councillor Smith and Councillor Washagan.
Yeah.
Are you two still committed to that?
Yeah,
Same, your worship.
Okay, so you would be the liaison as well as work
Yeah.
with them on this.
Yeah.
The issue was that we left out, we do have to tag some money onto that, and it has to come from somewhere.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, to that question, the only thing I'd like to keep in mind is we'd like to talk to them, have the councilors at the committee level talk to them about the budget. We still have a staff representative as well to join them on the concept, and we could develop a recommendation to come back to council. That would be potentially, because it would be a legacy piece, we could bring it out of the SLAG fund, a small amount. What we'd do is have the conversation with them, talk to them about where they would potentially fund some of these things, because when the councilors raised, I believe Councilor Smith today raised that there's potentially paint that could be donated. There's these types of things that they could come up with, but there would have to be an upset value for the project.
Yeah.
So we would put that into the budget then and amend the financial plan, because as part of our legal process, we have to identify the expenditure, where it would come from, and amend the financial plan at a later date, but we just have to identify this as part of the committee report coming back.
Okay, so in fact, we are just going to receive this request this evening
And appoint the committee
and
board.
appoint the committee.
Yes.
That's the motion Councillor Washagan has made,
And I second that.
and Councillor Smith seconded it. So good luck with that. I'm glad it's not me, but it's got great potential.
Oh, yeah,
Like you picked
absolutely.
out, there's other
Yeah.
walls around that we could look at, but this group is enthusiastic to start with one, so.
Yeah.
All right. End the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Bringing us down to the Canada Day Parade, July the 1st.
Okay.
Received for discussion. Council, what is your desire here?
Councilor motion there, and Mayor.
What's the motion?
What motion would you like to make?
Like to receive and discuss it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so received for discussion, second Councillor Smith, and discussion.
Is the city in the parade?
Is the city in the parade?
I guess it'll be up to council tonight to determine if we're going to go in the parade, because it would be the allocation of our resources to go into the parade. So we would, traditionally, we have participated, council participated last year by decorating the Kubota.
Yeah.
I could try that.
And then going in, I believe you were in the back of it last year.
Throwing out candy.
This year, I'd like to be able to tie you guys in to make sure you have some sort of a seatbelt in there.
Yeah, that's all that liability. No, that was the Fall Fair Parade.
Yeah, the carriage, yeah.
Well, I'll be there for the parade. I could drive the machine.
I don't know whether liability would allow you to drive it, Councillor Doherty, but properly seatbelted in.
Yeah.
My problem with it last year was that it arrived late, so I was in trouble with Anna and the chair, or the, what do you call that person? Whatever, that looks
Marshal.
after the stage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I've got myself into a bit of hot water there, so I'm not sure that I should go in the parade.
Why not?
Well, because again, I got there 10 minutes late and
Oh.
it was total chaos, so.
It's gonna be late.
Well,
This
time
You're not taking this seriously. All right, I would agree to go in the parade then if there are other councillors who wish to.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, with my daughter.
Okay, so we've got a full contingent. We'll have to look for something bigger than the Kubota or a trailer.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll work on it then in the next.
We got a week.
We throw these things there.
We got a week. Sure.
Okay, council wants to participate,
Yeah.
that's unanimous.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have received it for discussion, and we've made some informal agreements.
And I think Councillor Smith and I have done the cake cutting there the last 2 years.
Yes, please, that's the
Yeah.
other thing you're asking for.
I guess I'm asking, are you up for that?
Yeah, oh, you betcha.
Volunteer to do that again this year.
Yeah.
There's only a couple thousand pieces to cut.
Yeah.
Okay, and the theme, we could stick to this, is a farm theme. It's grown in the boundary,
Homegrown.
homegrown in the boundary. So I'll be talking about agriculture.
Yeah, it's okay, yeah.
Okay. The new farmer, please. So, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right. Request for sponsorship of the Fall Fair. So in the past, the Fall Fair has run the mini chuck wagons, and we have bought into a sign on the chuck wagon each year. That's not the case this year, but they are saying at this point that they would request $500 and that it would go for the event sponsorship.
Yep.
Councilor
I'm
Doherty.
all gonna move that, yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion of that and a seconder. Any trouble with the seconder?
Yeah, for discussion.
Councilor Vershagen seconds it. I sense some discussion. Councilor Vershagen.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm fully and totally supportive of figuring out a way to get $500 over to the Fall Fair Society, but being that we don't have grant and aid policy, typically we Board of Bruins, we get our name on the ice. For the chuck wagons, we got our name on the side of a wagon. There's a sponsorship agreement of some sort that we give money and get something in return, and I'm not seeing what it is we're going to get in return. Do we get a logo on something? Do we get...
I think we said we were gonna hang up the banner from the chuck wagon somewhere, but that doesn't seem like a.
Councilor Smith.
I'm in agreement with Councilor Vershagen. We don't have a grant and aid policy, and we can't keep revisiting it. You know, it's a good cause and all that kind of stuff, but still, we have a policy in place for a reason, and I think we need to abide by it.
Can I pause for a second to ask Mr. Allen, in reference to our policy, is there a fit for this anywhere in that?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, the grant and aid policy was revisited and redone, and our corporate officer was basically the architect of it. So if I could pass it over to Diane, but she did suggest that there was something within that would allow council the ability to discuss it and consider it.
Yes, Your Worship, as part of that policy, there is the avenue that council may choose to put something towards the events as part of it as an event support process. So the council could choose to put something towards that. It's kind of along the same lines as where we do advertising for the GFI Pamphlet, and we're getting a little bit of advertising from it. Our tarp will be probably displayed on the fairground, so it is a bit of advertising.
And all the written things that would accredit the sponsors.
So that there is that avenue that council may choose to.
So we're not in violation of the wording of the policy. Okay, thank you very much, John. Councillor Kendall.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to our CAO, we are already contributing fairly significant in-kind contributions to the fall fair, as we do every year for moving bleachers and numerous other things. And I think that that's kind of been the core of, our participation in lots of events, is that in lieu of cash donations or grant and aid, we do provide a ton of in-kind support to these events that costs us a significant amount of money. So my own feeling is that every group has, they're all good causes, but we do support them in other ways, and I think that I would be comfortable saying that it's not that we're not participating, we're just not participating in cash.
Okay, further comments? Councillor Boucher.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. After hearing our, what is your title? Corporate officer, sorry. Yes, speak to the fact that this would fall under, I guess, a pseudo advertising category, I suppose. I will support it as long as our logo is proudly displayed in some form or another.
And I would guess that on a printed material and that coming out, that we would get sponsorship credit for that on it.
Yeah.
So, Councillor Smith.
I'm just concerned that, again, we're going back on policy that we labored hard to develop, and I won't be able to support it.
And so your interpretation is that it doesn't fit?
Again, we do, as Councillor Kendall pointed out, we do all that in-kind stuff. If we start opening loopholes and little doors, it's going to spread open, and soon everyone's going to say, well, I got a T-shirt with your logo on it, give me $1,000 for the ball game or something like that, whatever.
Okay, I understand your point.
Well,
Ready for the question? Councillor Doherty.
Okay, so I put the motion,
Yes.
who seconded?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Motion's on the floor. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, the next item of business is the Grand Forks ministerial request to exempt more than the footprint that they have. And I think what we have here is a request to receive this for discussion this evening, and that we would refer this back in terms of the impact and further discussion with our CAO. Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It would be our due diligence to provide you a report back on the financial matters, because as we pull that revenue, we give them the tax relief. The residents or industry would have to pick up that burden of taxation. This is not normal in respect to how this is undertaken, but what we can do is council would have the ability to do that, but they would require council to either put it onto the remainder of the residents of the community to cover those costs, or fund it through an increase in taxation to further increase to industry. So somebody is going to have to pick up that burden. As we relieve somebody from their taxation responsibility, somebody else will have to pay it.
Okay, and we would expect a report back on this.
Yeah, so I'd recommend that the chief financial officer could provide council with a report with the impacts.
Okay, right. Thank you, Councillor Doherty.
Your worship, to the CEO, I'd like to know how much it costs the taxpayer a year for all these.
The exemptions in general.
On your report?
That would be included within the report.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we can anticipate, and we're simply receiving this for discussion this evening, we'll anticipate a report back from our staff.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Anybody make the motion?
No, I made it.
Councillor Doherty made it, Councillor Rochelle seconded it.
We're still on.
Okay. We're okay.
And we're down to bylaws.
Okay.
And the first bylaw is going to be a combination again of first final reading on the repeal and then final reading on the new set of regulations. So a motion for final reading on the appeal of the bylaw. Councillor Smith, Councillor Doherty, Any comments?
The repeal, it was the repeal?
Yes.
Okay, I thought.
No, we're on the repeal.
Oh, we're on
first.
repeal, yes,
We
okay.
got it on, perfect,
Okay.
right on there. All right, we are repealing the old bylaw. All those in favor? Opposed, carried, and council further gives final reading to procedures for conduct of local government elections, 2014. A motion for the new bylaw. Councillor Smith, Councillor Kendall. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? And
Yes, sir. Just to clarify, it's bylaw number 1999, 2014.
Yes.
So just make sure that you have that in the motion as far as that, so was that
yeah, I'm assuming that you'll take the full motion.
the
as
staff
written.
motion? Okay,
Yes.
as long as we understand that, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, if there's too much discretion from it, we use it.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And bring us to final reading of the automated voting machine bylaw.
Yeah.
Final reading of this bylaw. Councillor Doherty, Councillor Rashagan, and discussion. Nothing more to say?
Moving up to a calculator.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We have late items. Let me begin with the number 1, which is the Sophie. Resolved that council receives the chief financial officer's report and further approves the statement of financial information for the city of Grand Forks as at December 31st, 2013. Councillor Doherty, Councillor Kendall, any discussions? Getting it in on time. All those in favor? That's a tough one, I know, it's a difficult report, but
Yeah.
the second item, Councillor Smith, you can help me out with this, but the resolution that I have crafted here is resolved that council directs staff to research the cost of holding a referendum outside of the 2014 local government election obviously on deer cull.
Yes. I make that motion.
Councillor Smith makes the motion, seconded by,
I'll second it for discussion, Your Worship.
in discussion. And maybe we should, I'll just scope the other motion here. No, let's not confuse things, sorry. Well, they are kind of tied together, but, okay,
So
this is-
essentially, the resolution is just to ask staff to research the cost associated. It's not tying council to actually doing a referendum, it's investigating the cost. That's
And
understandable.
the concern of holding it in conjunction with the election is that it could taint the election
That's right.
and be an unusual
Yeah.
issue. Councillor Doherty,
Well, Your Worship, I'd like to table that until we get a report from the staff.
But that's what we're asking for.
Yeah,
in the
That's asking
motion.
for a report.
That's what the
Because,
motion is asking for.
Yeah.
okay, so
So
we're
that-
kicking it
you-
back.
You okay with that?
More.
Yeah, well, that's what the motion is.
Yeah, we're just-
Yeah, no, I know, but that, well, you know,
Okay, further discussion? No. All those in favor?
okay, you know.
All right, let's see what that option is. And the third one is resolve that council approve the purchase for deer tracking and monitoring equipment as requested by the deer committee in the amount of, and that had been left blank, to be funded through the 2014 deer committee budget. And that motion, Councillor
I'll
Smith
make
makes
that
it.
motion.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Councillor Doherty puts it on the table. So what we're looking at here was a shared cost on it.
Yeah.
With the provincial government. The cost to us, $600 a caller.
If we got 10 calls, it'd be about
Yeah.
$6,000.
$600.
We're gonna split it.
And it's matching dollars, it's 50/50.
Yeah.
Right.
The provincial, Aaron Reed, who is a representative for the provincial government Ministry of Environment, has indicated that as part of their job as well, they will undertake the trapping and collaring or the darting of the deer and all that other logistical stuff that we have not the wherewithal to undertake ourselves. So I think it's a pretty solid pretty solid contribution.
Councillor Rashagan and Councillor Kendall.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple questions here. I'll ask a couple and let somebody else speak and then ask the last one last, I guess. First off, how many deer are you looking at collaring, and why is this why is this deemed necessary? What is the end game? Why?
Yeah. For the last 7 years, the extent of data collection has been twice a year. 10 people go in their cars, 2 per car, and drive around the zones as they've been broken up by, it was Brian Harris, who was our previous MOE fella, divided Grand Forks municipality into 5 zones. So 2 people go out in a car in each zone and count the deer. Time of day, time of year, we could have a variance between a month, and there's many factors that affect the biology of deer and where they might be and what they might be doing at any given time. So it didn't lend itself very well to scientific analysis, of course. So, and that's been a problem for me, because I mean, if we're going to be making decisions on management, we want to have as solid data as possible in order to make the appropriate decisions. So the idea of collaring, because it's appreciated that there are a number of herds, as it were, in the municipality that congregate together, that move together, that forage together, and the idea is data collection. Where are they congregating? Where are they foraging? Is there an impact on deer feeders on their movements? I think there's a lot of important data that could be gleaned from monitoring, and we're talking about 10 animals. And yeah, just arming ourselves with the most relevant and potent data that we can in order to make our decisions in a more, informed way. That's it.
Councillor Smith, would you like to add a dollar figure to that then?
I would like to say,
I mean, it would make it contingent on shared funding.
yeah, and again, this is, we'd like this to be coming from the Deer Committee's budget, not, having to adjust the financial plan. So I would say the very top 10,000.
And half is,
Just barring any, like I did offer council the breakdown on the cost, but again, just so we're not having to come back and say, oh, well, we need a couple more grants.
Councillor Doherty, you agree with that?
Yeah, I just want to ask Councillor Jerry Smith that the government will be paying half.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so clarify.
Matching dollars.
End into
Yeah,
agreement
matching
without
dollars.
government
Yeah.
cost.
So we're talking 10 collars, matching dollars, and the Ministry of Environment taking the responsibility of trapping, collaring, and setting all this whole thing up. So,
Good.
Okay. Council Kendall, then Councillor Rashagan.
Well, Your Worship, I don't doubt that the callers would give us some useful information, but the problem I have with it is we're gathering information to maybe do a study on something that we, to this point, aren't 100% sure that the community's behind. There's obviously divided, people are divided on what should be done about the deer. Having more information about the deer, I don't see that going to what end? I guess that's what I'm asking. To what is it that if we know where the deer are, we know where they're moving to, and we have all of this information, then is that to prepare to do something about it? And is that backed by the community? I think we need to ask that question first. Is the majority of the community behind a solution, whatever that may be? And if so, then I think that information would be useful to that end. But in the meantime, spending $10,000 to find out where the deer move, what does that really accomplish? That's the question I have.
Okay. And Councillor Rashagan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have those same concerns, quite honestly. I also have a concern, and it was mentioned, I believe, briefly in that email that was sent out in regards to the darting of the deer. Are these deer going to be taken from one restricted area, or are they going to be from maybe one from Valmar, one from Ruckel, one from out by the potato fields, one from our neighborhood? Or are they all going to be taken from one area away from houses? Because the concern that was raised within that email was the fact there is a possibility, while it is silent and quiet to dart a deer, that it could possibly happen on somebody's front yard. And I would have a lot of concern if somebody was darting a deer on my front lawn.
You know, I think we're putting Councillor Smith in an awkward position with questions that he may not be in a position to answer. I'm wondering if the CO, the conservation officer, might.
And certainly the Ministry of Environment, this isn't their first time at it. You know, it could be a bear in your front yard, and they're going to dart it.
Councillor Doherty.
Yeah. Your Worship, I have to respect Councillor Gary Smith bringing the motion forward. I have a big concern too about the deers, but we have to start somewhere. You know, we've been sitting around here for months and months.
I know, it was one of my worst jobs ever, was
I know,
chairing the
and nothing has been done. I have a great respect what Councillor Gary Smith brought, and if what he's proposing will work for the future of finding out what's going on with the deer. I see them every day. And
right, so the actions that we have spent money on have been the coordinator.
Yeah.
And this is only the second action item.
Yeah, so I think personally, I respect the rest of the council, but maybe we should try it out and see what happens.
Final word, Councillor Smith.
Yeah, yeah, Your Worship, just to address Councillor Kendall's concerns, I mean, like I say, what we've been doing for the last 7 years it's not science.
Yeah.
And when we talk about different management strategies, and I'm not saying just simply cull or not cull.
Yeah.
I'm talking about all kinds of management strategies that you can put in place. Are the deer actually leaving town and coming back? Like, what is their range? Where do they congregate? So if we, down the road, decide to undertake a management strategy, it would be good to know where they congregate. How many herds are there? You know, I mean, what is their interaction? Where do the feeders play into the movements of those individual deer herds? And to address your question, yes, they would be taken from, because we're trying to identify the different herds that exist and their interactions and movements around the city. So yeah, it's not all intended to be taken from a single spot, but from various areas within the city. So we're just trying to do the right thing and have the most information so that when we go to Minister Thompson and say, hey, dude, you said you were going to commit to us, and we've done this, we've done that, we've done the other thing. Back us up, man. You know, this is just one more thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to support the motion, having chaired that committee for a number of years and been extremely frustrated. I just couldn't seem to find a direction to move there. And I think Councillor Smith has done an admirable job in terms of working with that problem, and I want to give him some resources. And since it's already in your budget, I'm going to support it.
Yeah.
Councillor Kendall.
Yeah, just a final comment. Thank you, Councillor Smith, for that explanation. And I think on that basis, I can understand what the premise is behind, the request, and I can see that that may offer us another alternative other than a cull, if we understand, maybe another way to deal with the issue. So after that explanation, I feel fine with supporting that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ready for the question? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you, Councillor.
Report, please.
And that brings us to questions from the public and media, but let me make one further announcement here, if you give me the leniency. Nigel James has been the first to come forward and commit himself to sit on the Citizens Review Committee to establish water rates. And so I told Nigel that we would consider him the first volunteer, if that's acceptable to council. So that's it. We're at questions from the public and media, and I'm open to comments. Yes, Donna?
For this meeting, do I stay here or do I go forward?
No, you could come up. It'd be easier to hear you tonight.
Okay. I'd like to talk with you about electronic voting. From my research, the most secure type of voting is the one we have had to this point. Voting machines are proprietary, so that means other technology experts, computer experts, they're not allowed to examine the insides of the programming, okay? And there was once one program that was available, it was looked at, and there were problems. So these voting machines, they are proprietary, and they're less transparent than our manual counting of paper ballots being watched by scrutineers. If one researches electronic voting machine use, one will find that they are not without problems, including versions of the one that we are considering for the city here. If we don't have a problem with traditional voting, I ask why change it, especially since there are increased risks. I'm asking that you please slow down, rescind the motion to use electronic voting machines, and discuss any issues with the public so they can be reassured that we will have a secure, truly democratic election. We citizens have the right to an informed public debate and discussion on this election issue. Municipal elections are the backbone of our democracy.
Thank you. Thank you, Donna. Any further comments? Yes, Mrs. Cook.
I'd like to make a comment, or a question and a comment, two subjects.
That's perfect.
My first item is a question on the deer issue. You mentioned where do the feeders play into this story or situation? What do you mean by feeders there?
What we mean is people who are feeding the deer on an ongoing basis throughout the year.
Okay.
That certainly has been something that our coordinator, our wild safe coordinator, has been addressing, I believe, and reports back to the deer committee on a regular basis.
Okay. Now the comments on the deer issue as well. I don't know how far you go back in history here, but years ago there was, I'm not just sure, I don't remember who initiated it, maybe the Wildlife Association or someone. There was a program where you could, they had a nursery supply, I assume, shrubs and trees that deer would feed on. They would be supplied to interested parties who would like to plant these plants and therefore provide food for the deer. As I mentioned earlier this
Within the
afternoon,
city?
Well, we're in the rural area. We're just outside the city, so I'm assuming it could have been both, but I actually don't know if it was the city or not included in that. I don't know really where that went. I don't know quite how successful that was.
Well, I think it went well in terms of there being over 1,000 trees in town that have been the mountain ash, which is one of the biggest winter feeds for deer. And so we have an abundance of food in the community for deer.
Yes, except that
Cedar as well.
when they're browsed upon, they're browsed to the height deer can reach on their hind legs.
I thought people did that on purpose till I found out
Nope,
when I moved.
that's all pruning by deer. So my comment proposal partly, something to look at. If you remember, I know I mentioned the reason they're down here is because they're looking for food. They found gardens and yards, a nice place to eat, and their food sources in the wild are diminishing due to cattle and other things. They used to be further up in the hills and so on. So they've come down to a safe area that has some fairly good food, mostly till it's all browsed up where they can't reach it or fenced away. So I'm wondering if a person or we as a community could not initiate a revisitation, a re-implementation of this kind of program. Now the plantings would have to be protected for a while till they could reach a size that could take the browse, and they would need water.
And it would need to be outside of the city, so, I agree with you totally.
Yes, well, it could be or it could not be. There are maybe areas in the city where it could be implemented as well, but it, like I said, needs those protection for a while, it needs water, they have to grow, they can't be just put in the dry area and expect it to grow, that won't work. But
we need to
the other
go
thing that
back up
happens
into the mountain, not to surround us in our community,
so-
so.
Well,
other than that,
that's what's
Yeah.
happening with, that's
Yeah.
why they're here. Okay, so the other thing that they would have to be protected for a while. And then what you do is you have some larger trees that can be cut off. There's a term for that and I've forgotten it. But they can be cut off part way so that the branches, the main trunk or so, some of the branches fall down or come down to their level. And that doesn't kill the tree because you've only cut partway through that, but you can continually do that with decent-sized trees and provide. People in other areas do this kind of thing to provide food for their animals.
Mrs. Cook, you're 100% right. The only difference is that we need to do it in Overton Creek and some of the traditional whitetail areas.
Well, that might be something to consider because
Yes.
to implement that food source,
Yeah.
that's like I say, why they're here, either that or you fence the whole community.
Thank you very
Anyway,
much.
thanks.
Further comments from the public? Mr. Johnson?
Two things, 2 or 3 go-rounds, councils ago with the deer issue. One of the long-term residents here pointed out that 30, 40 years ago, you didn't have a deer problem in town, you had a dog problem. Now you don't have a dog problem, but you have a deer problem. If you had that, if you didn't have the control of the dogs, the deers wouldn't hang around.
We're trying to teach cats to chase deer, but they're not.
They're not as intimidating unless they're 5 feet long. Okay, the other thing was I was listening to you discuss about the request for $500 from the fall fair. And, well, we used to have our logo on this, we used to have a logo down there. It's called the Grand Forks Fall Fair, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's my point.
And district.
All right, further comments?
And district.
Hearing none, a motion to adjourn. Councilor Dillard. Thank you very much, folks.